Hello, everyone. I am so excited to have you join us today with our guest presenter, Dr. Mark Sanna. Dr. Sanna and I have had the great pleasure of working together for many, many years, and I am always so excited when we're able to work it out with his busy schedule that he can be a presenter on our webinar series. He has an incredible background in chiropractic. He's a second-generation chiropractor, was in practice for many, many years when he found his real passion and calling in life, and that was helping other doctors just like yourself. Many of you are probably familiar with Dr. Sanna as he is a speaker at seminars and conventions across the country. He's written books, articles, he's all over the place. And if you ever have the opportunity to hear him live and in person, I highly encourage you. It is so impactful. And I'll be real honest, it's one of those things that just really gets your heart going, and you get really excited about chiropractic again. And it doesn't even matter what he's talking about, what area of practice that he's addressing. It's just you're really going to find that passion that's going to light up for your practice when you hear him speak live and in person. In fact, I would be willing to bet you're going to feel that way at the end of today's presentation, and it is 100 times more impactful when you get to hear him live. So if you see that he's going to be speaking at an event somewhere near you, do yourself a favor, make sure that you're there and you're sitting in the front row. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Sanna. Dr. Sanna, thank you for being here today.
Christy, thank you so much. I just love hearing your voice. You make me smile every time I hear you. And so thanks for hosting me today. We've got a fun webinar to share today. It's not your usual webinar. In fact, this is the very first time I've presented this material, so I'm really excited to share it with the ChiroHealthUSA audience, and I hope you like it. It's an idea that came up as I was speaking with a group of chiropractors, and some of them were just new in practice and associating in some offices that have been around for some years, let's say that. And one of the docs said, you know, man, I feel like my doc's practice is just caught in a time warp. And it really clicked with me. And I said, I wrote it down, or I actually emailed it to myself in my phone. And I said, that's an idea worth exploring. So we came up with 12 signs that your practice might be stuck in a time warp. And so we'll have some fun with this together, I promise you. So first of all, a little how you begin every story. Once upon a time, and this is a true story, and I grew up like this. I grew up in a real little small town up in rural Connecticut, and it was a graduating high school class of, I think we had about 35 people, most of them who I'm still very much in touch with. We're definitely Facebook friends. That's one of the benefits of Facebook, is all of my high school peeps we're still very close and keep up with each other and our families. But we did definitely grow up in a little small town, and if I needed to get my hair cut, we'd go to Kelly's, and we bought our sandwiches from Bob's Sub Shop. And I can tell you that the pharmacy on the corner did not belong to a Walgreens. Little Brookfield Pharmacy is still there. Actually, we actually had a village store, and there wasn't any even idea, concept about the internet. There really wasn't in small businesses really marketing. I mean, you had back then maybe the yellow pages, but as Christy mentioned, I'm a second-generation chiropractor. My dad was a longtime chiropractor in that same small town, and folks would know him. In fact, there was always a chiropractic table in our home, and it would not be unusual in an evening or on a Saturday that somebody would drop by and see that Dad was home and get an adjustment. And it wasn't really even necessary to have that yellow page ad. People offered their goods and services, and if you did a great job and you offered a great service, people came. And that simply was how business was done. And that's changed quite a bit. That was then, and this is now. And I've got up on the screen a little photo snapshot of the crew from Mayberry, with Barney and Andy Griffith and Aunt Bee and little Opie, who turned out to be Ron Howard, the film producer. I know he wishes he had that head of hair now, but if you don't know about Mayberry, it was a little small town, and it was very much like the town that I grew up in. And unfortunately, if you think that your practice can still grow and thrive the old-fashioned way, and your patients come in and they refer to you because they've always done that in the past, well, you're going to have to stop and think again. You got a couple of choices here. Number one, you can be passive. You can sit by and watch the world pass you by, and let me tell you, it's moving at lightning speed, faster and faster every day. The new technology that is out there is tremendous. Or you can be proactive. You can actually do something about it. And I want to teach you some things that you can do very easily in your practice. I know that you're busy, and I know that there's a lot of regulations that are coming out every day, and documentation and coding and HIPAA and all that kind of stuff is big, and managing your staff is challenging. But there's some things that you can do that can leverage technology, actually leverage this new world that we live in to help market and grow your practice. Well, the first thing, it's called this Interwebby Thing. I love referring to it that way. And, listen, even if you're located in a little Brookfield, Connecticut, a little small town, the townsfolk, guess what? They've got internet. They've got smartphones. They got all sorts of techie gadgets. And they are going to Google you. They're going to check your online reviews before they even come in. In fact, we found that it's very, very interesting, is that patients will, even if they've been referred by another patient, check out your website and check to see what you look like, what kind of services you do. And they're actually going to make their first judgment about your skills as a chiropractor, literally based upon how good your website looks. And so if you're not getting your head in the game and proving to these folks that you're the obvious choice, unfortunately, you might as well just throw in the towel and say, all right, let me see, how soon can I get out of this game of chiropractic, right? Bottom line is that it really takes being proactive. Use that amazing interweb to reach out to patients, meet them where they're looking for you. And guess where they're looking for you? It's right in their hand right now, I promise you. It's on their smart device. It's on their smartphone. So make sure you've got a website that is absolutely up to date, that is responsive. That means it changes its configuration, whether I'm looking at it on a screen on my desktop, or if I'm on my laptop or iPad or Android phone, that my patients are having an excellent experience. So let's go through some signs, the 12 signs that your practice might be stuck in a time warp. Well, if you're immobile, if your feet are stuck in the sand and you've got that paralysis of analysis and you're seeming overwhelmed, you could be in some serious trouble. It gets really comfortable being in a time warp. Lots of familiar things around. It's kind of being in bubble wrap. You kind of feel comfy and cozy, and it feels okay. And that practice that you're in, that, gosh, you haven't walked through the patient door. You've always gone through the doctor door, and you forget about how it smells, and you're nose blind, and you're missing where their scuffs are on the walls, and you've got some tables that have some duct tape on them instead of having them recovered. That's funny. It's one of the things I get asked all the time. Where can I get my chiropractic equipment recovered, have the vinyl covering replaced? And the very best place is go down to the auto shop and where they do auto upholstery and recover auto seats, it's the perfect place to have your chiropractic tables recovered. So there's no excuse to have taped up or cracked chiropractic tabletops. We want to make sure that they're beautiful. So if you're trapped in a time warp, you're not seeing those things anymore, some of the equipment hasn't been calibrated in years or maybe never, you're eventually going to lose business to your competition. And it's not going to be based upon the fact that you're delivering the best chiropractic adjustment. In fact, some of the best chiropractic adjusters that I know who give the very finest chiropractic adjustments actually lose patients and struggle to stay in practice because they don't create a patient experience. So it's not enough anymore to deliver great results. In fact, patients expect that. They expect you to get them well. They expect you to give them a wonderful chiropractic adjustment that relieves whatever it is that they come from, relieves stress, makes them feel better. But guess what? If they're having an less than stellar experience, I'll give you an exact example. Had a doc who I was speaking to this week had a patient come in who had been seeing another doctor in the community. That doctor's practice has been there for 30 years. The patient had been going to this doctor for close to 30 years. And yet they changed and went to a new chiropractor. When the chiropractor asked, why'd you change? I know you've been going to doc for years and years, and I happen to know he's a very fine chiropractor. And the patient said, I just couldn't stand the smell of the mold in the practice anymore. I couldn't take it anymore. Every time I went in there, the practice, it smelled like I wanted to Lysol everything. And this is a patient who not only had been coming to the practice, but got great results, but they weren't having a great experience. Your patients have a lot of opportunities. They have a lot of opportunities of where to spend their discretionary money. Everybody has a significant deductible right now. If you have a patient who doesn't have a high deductible, that's the unicorn. That's the unusual patient. Most patients are going to come in and they've got a $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 deductible. So guess what? That means even if they have insurance, they don't have insurance, right? As Dr. Ray Foxworth says, they have phantom insurance. What it truly means is they're paying cash, and they're paying their hard-earned cash to come in, and they want to make sure that you're affordable, yes. They want to make sure that you're effective, yes. They want to make sure that you're available, means you're there when they need you, not when it's just convenient for you. But they also want to make sure that they're having a great experience. And that great experience begins online, and it also moves into the practice in that environment. Everything from the music that is played, what they're watching in your reception area. If you've got old dog-eared copies of Sports Illustrated, National Geographic with the color cover ripped, and all kinds of People magazine where every other advertisement in there is for some kind of pharmaceutical, right? That's not so cool. You want to have great information and a great experience. I love the Go Chiro TV that is now sponsored by Dynamic Chiropractic magazine. If you don't know about it, reach out to Dynamic Chiropractic or Google Go Chiro TV, and it's a small dongle, little tiny dongle. It's the size of the palm of your hand that clips into the port in the back of a flat screen, and it wirelessly streams beautiful messaging and images throughout your practice. There's no wires. You don't have to worry about having a hard drive or anything like that. Now you can have beautiful, gorgeous color patient messaging throughout the practice. If you're doing decompression, over the decompression area, if you've got a rehab suite in the rehab area, certainly in your reception room, so that patients are visual. They love to have a visual image, and having them receive the chiropractic message of all of the different things that you do in your practice, not just the low back pain or headaches that most people come in with, but if they're there and they have a kid who's got attention deficit disorder, or a baby who's got colic, or a toddler who's still wetting the bed, and all of those issues that happen. And we do great within chiropractic. If we're not messaging that to them, they're not going to get that. So we want to make sure that our interaction with the patients is absolutely stellar, right up to speed. So next sign that you might be in the time work, and for those millennials who are watching this, that thing on the right-hand side of the screen in the picture, that's called an 8-track tape. So you may not have seen that ever before in your life, but at one time, that was a pretty cool thing to have. That's Boston. I know I owned that 8-track car. And this was even before there were cassette tapes. We had 8-tracks, and you'd have these things in this massive box that would sit in your car. And man, technology moved on. We used to have CDs. You'd have to buy CDs, and then we used to stream off Napster and get our music. And finally now, with iTunes and Alexa and all of the different, I have to be careful because Alexa will answer me. Whenever you say Alexa in my house, she says, yes, I'm listening. So technology has moved forward. And if you're still doing things in your practice simply because that's how it's always been done, you want to take a look at that. I used to say that literally the half-life, how long a practice procedure survived in your practice. I used to say the half-life of a practice procedure was 5 years. Right? I used to teach people that back in the 90s, that if you have a procedure or a way of doing things, it had a half-life of about 5 years. That meant in 5 years, you had to take it out, dust it off, take a look at it, examine it, and decide, is this what we want to do? Well, the half-life of your procedures in your practice are no longer 5 years. They may be 2 years. The pace of change in the chiropractic profession, and that goes all the way from the ICD 10 codes that we use now, to the new CPT codes that change every year, to our ability to capture information and data through quality assessments and value-based assessments of care in practice, has moved like light speed. So if you just keep it status quo and everybody else just keeps up with the pace of change and uses the new technology, guess what? You're going to see your patients hightail it out of the practice. Even good patients, even patients who got great results, quicker than you can say 8-track tape or plastic pink yard flamingo, if you know what one of those used to look like. There are practices who actually avoid social media. There are docs. I had a call with a doc last week. He said, Mark, I don't do Facebook. And I'm like, well, why? He said, well, I just have a thing about it. I don't do it. I think it's a time waster. It eats things up. And we have in Breakthrough Coaching a group called the Breakthrough Coaching Elite. And the elite are the doctors who've broken $1 million in their practice. They've gone over $1 million mark. And we do a great getaway retreat with them twice a year. They come with their spouses. In fact, we just got back from Costa Rica, and if you've not been to Costa Rica, you want to put it on your list. We had an extraordinary time. I mean, we went ziplining and bungee jumping, and we went out whale watching and saw the whales with the mama and the baby, and saw all kinds of wildlife and monkeys and sloths, you know, the crazy cookie looking sloths that move all slow and everything. And we have a Facebook group where the elite members, actually, it's a very, very active group. They dialogue with each other all the time. Questions about, have you gone to digital x-ray yet, or what's happening in your practice, or you know, what best practices are for hiring and all of that kind of stuff. There's constantly dialogue going on there. So I wanted to invite this doc who does have this multi-million-dollar practice onto the Facebook group. And he said, well, I don't do Facebook. And I sent him an article that shows how all of the top CEOs of all of the top companies in the world, Mark Cuban from Shark Tank, and Bill Gates, and Richard Branson from Virgin, these guys are all very, very active on social media. So if you don't have time and you think that social media is not something that can fit into your schedule, find somebody to do it for you in your practice. I like to say, can you say free advertising, right? Breakthrough Coaching, I hope you look for our Facebook page and you like us. I put a post on there every single day that is suitable for you to forward to your patients. It's typically an uplifting, inspiring post, and we do that very specifically so that you can forward it on to your patients. Like my page, please do that. We have docs from all over the country on that page, and actually the world. We just started Breakthrough Coaching in Korea this month, which was really, really exciting. To shout out to Dr. Kim there, who's our coach in Korea. But you want to take advantage of all of the resources that are available to you. Social media is one. It's one of the best ways to get customer reviews. Customer reviews are really the single most important aspect of search engine optimization, making sure that you organically filter up to the top of the Google and Bing searches when somebody's searching for chiropractic in your hometown. Want to make sure that we've got a great online reputation. Make sure that you keep your name out there, right? Let people look for you and see what you have to say. Don't let them find your competitors by default because you simply don't want to take the time, right? You can outsource this. You can insource it with somebody on the staff who can literally, I personally do all of the Facebook posting for social media. I use Buffer, Buffer, and it allows me to preset a month's worth of posts. I can actually do 6 months worth of posts, and I have them programmed to go out at 9 a.m. every morning. A fresh post goes out. I get my statistics, or analytics it's called, lets me know which posts really are effective, which posts people like. It allows me to simultaneously post on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, and Google+, all with a preset click of a button. It couldn't be easier to do, and one of the things that both ChiroHealthUSA and Breakthrough Coaching is both of us sit on the board of the Foundation for Chiropractic Progress, myself and Christy and Ray Foxworth. We sit on the board, and every single month we actually send you out what are called social media accelerators. They come right into your inbox. All you have to do is click on the accelerator, and it shoots right to your Twitter or your Facebook accounts. It can't be easier, but listen, if you're not doing it, if you're not leveraging social media, somebody else in your town will, and guess what? That's where the patients are going to go. Here's another sign that you might be stuck in a time work. Actually, this came up at our Breakthrough Coaching Elite meeting. We really spoke a lot about one of the top issues of being an entrepreneur, chiropractic entrepreneur, is hiring. One of the challenges of running any business, especially a small business, is hiring. And we really came to the consensus that most chiropractors are short-staffed. They don't like to hire that extra person. And let me tell you, having that extra person who can act as a backup, who can help do all of the things that help move the practice forward, including social media, including doing active care with patients, including all of the things that you don't have time to do as a chiropractor. As a chiropractor, you have time to examine your patients, do your reports of findings, make sure that you're giving a great chiropractic adjustment, measuring and reporting your results, right? There's not a whole lot of time to do everything else in the practice. And if you're short-staffed, if you're afraid to hire that one extra person, you're going to find that that practice is going to automatically default into a time warp. You're going to have to do things that you don't need to be doing, right? I love this t-shirt. It says, "Leave me alone. I know what I'm doing," right? And you could also say, "Can't anybody else but me do things right around here," right? So why would you try and do it all? Do not try and be a jack of all trades and a master of none. Delegate. If you can't afford staff, if billing is a concern, outsource it. If you can't handle all of the things that need to be done, there are great companies who can outsource it. As a doc, you may need a virtual assistant, somebody who can help you organize your life, help you do all of the things that you need to do in your personal life and setting up your personal appointments and managing that for you. All the things that you don't like to do or that suck up your time, delegate it. Either get somebody virtually to do it, get somebody outsourced locally to do it, or go ahead and hire that extra half person. Don't short staff. Make sure that you've got somebody who's really good in the pipeline. Don't be afraid to spend a little money to make an investment in your practice and make more money and be more profitable. The next signal sign that you might be in a time warp is that you don't text your patients. You got to be serious. I mean, it's amazing. There are still practices who actually pick up the phone and telephone patients for missed appointments. This is, if you're a front desk and you're listening, you know what a time suck this is. You also know that people are a master at the dodge, right? They will totally dodge a phone call, but guess what? You text that cell phone is attached to their body, man. It's welded to their hand. You're calling them on their cell phone number. They see who's calling. They see your number. They're letting it go to voicemail on purpose. However, if you text that same cell phone, you text that same patient, say, hey, are you running late? Are you on your way? We're waiting for you. That text message has a 97% open rate. Over 80% of adults text, right? The average millennial exchanges an average of 67 text messages a day. So SMS or texting, appointment reminders, running late, marketing messages, do all of that to get the maximum response. Almost every single software program out there, all of the major ones, have the ability to text patients. You must set that up. I happen to love a company called Zingit, Z-I-N-G-I-T, Zingit. Steve Weber owns a company. Not only does it do text messaging for the appointment reminders and birthdays and et cetera like that, it also does push relationship management. So in other words, when a patient has a great testimonial to give, they can automatically, through Zingit, go ahead and text it to Zingit, and boom, it pushes it right out to your social media channels for you. It's an awesome, awesome tool. If you don't know about it, Google it. Here's the next concept that you might be stuck in a time warp if you think you're going to get different results and still do it the same way, right? That is the definition of insanity by Albert Einstein, right? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, right? Hello, McFly. And if you don't recognize that reference, you too may be a millennial. But McFly, Marty McFly, was the Michael Fox character in Back to the Future, in the Back to the Future movie. So, hey man, you can't go back to the future, but if what you're doing right now is not producing the results that you want. Now, this could be patient visit average, the number of times a patient comes to the office. It could be the number of new patients. It could be the longevity of your staff. It could be the ease of documentation or the comfort and pillow factor that you have. That's your ability to put your head on the pillow at night and sleep soundly, knowing that all the T's are crossed and I's are dotted in your practice. If you don't have the pillow factor, if you're doing things the same way and expecting a different result, guess what? It's not going to happen. It is not going to happen. If you're not happy with where your practice is, I've got only one piece of advice for you. It's not going to change by working it harder. by working it faster, by working it longer, okay? It's only going to change, when you change. You've got to change where you come from. Inside yourself has got to come. If you're coming from a place of scarcity, you will not see abundance showing up in your life. If you're doing abundance affirmations, if you're seeing money circulating to you and through you in a never-ending circle of abundance out into the universe, you could tell that's one of my affirmations. If you're not coming from that place of abundance, abundance is not going to show up in your practice. If you're coming from a place of scarcity, that there's not enough, there's not enough money at the end of the month, or there's not enough month at the end of the money, right? If you're in a place that there's not enough new patients in your community, or why can't I only see 4 new patients a week instead of 4 new patients a day or a morning, right? So you're not going to have abundance show up in your life. So number 1, you got to change your mindset to an abundance mindset. Number 2, if I take a doctor who has not used to seeing 100 office visits a week, I take that doctor and I put that doctor into a practice that sees 250 office visits a week. After about a month and a half, that practice will drop down from the 250 visits that it normally sees down to the 100 visits that the doctor is used to seeing. And the reason is, if you're seeing 100 office visits a week, it's because you have 100 office visit a week procedures. You have a 100 office visit a week mindset. And if you're going to see 200 or 250 office visits a week or 500 office visits a week, you need a 500 office visit a week procedure. You need a 500 office a week mindset. So until we change our mindset and until we change our procedures, don't look around and say, gosh, why am I stuck? Why can I only see 400 office visits a month instead of 400 office visits a week? Find out what are the procedures that are involved with seeing 400, 200, 500 visits a week. You know how you find that out? Go and visit somebody who's seeing that. I have always found that those practitioners who are at the top of the game, right, the best chiropractic practitioners will always open their door for you and allow you to come in and shadow them for a day or for an afternoon. Every single time. If you've got a successful chiropractor, I don't care if it's in your town or the town next door, they don't think about competition. They are their own competition. I promise you, when I was in practice, I practiced parking lot, and I've told this story many times, parking lot to parking lot, really, back door to my very best friend, Dr. George Lantini, who's still my best friend in the world. If I wanted to see how busy George was, I could stick my head out the back door and look to see how many cars were in his parking lot, and he could do the same with me. And guess what? Once a month, we joined up forces, and we would do a patient appreciation day on a Saturday, and we'd do one in my office, and I'd do the exams, and George would take the x-ray films, and then we'd do the next week in his office, literally. And he'd do the exams, and I'd do the x-rays, and guess what? We both had the biggest practices in the area, some of the biggest practices in the state, and guess what? There was no competition, right? Find out what works by learning from somebody who knows how to work it. You don't know somebody local to you, call Breakthrough Coaching. We'll find a Breakthrough Coaching member who's near you, and one of the things that Breakthrough Coaching members are world renowned for is their hospitality. If you're in town, they love to have you drop into their practice. They love to meet you. They love to take you out to lunch. So the only way to change the results that you're producing is to change your mindset, change your procedures, and you'll see that life changes for you. Another sign that you may be stuck in a time warp, this one is insidious, it sneaks in on you, is forgetting your purpose, forgetting the why you do what you do, forgetting the why you entered this field of chiropractic. You listen to the noise, you listen to the scarcity mentality, you hang out with the thumbsuckers crowd at whatever group meeting who whines about how Medicare doesn't pay for exams or x-rays. They whine about Ashen only pays for 5 visits. They whine about deductibles. They are the thumb-sucking whiners club. And guess what? They forgot why they became a chiropractor. They didn't come into this profession to manage insurance. They didn't come into this profession to fill out documentation and paperwork. They came and became a chiropractor. I became a chiropractor because I was called to this profession. This chiropractic profession is unique. It is a calling. It does take stick-to-itiveness. It is not the easiest choice. You know, you want an easier choice? I don't know what, day trade stocks or sell real estate or become a podiatrist or whatever. But chiropractic is not the easiest choice. However, it is the single most fulfilling and rewarding profession that I could think of. I could not think of being anything else in this lifetime than being a chiropractor. And so if some of the day-to-day of being in practice has pulled you off purpose, has made you question the joy, if you get to the end of the day and you're feeling drained out instead of revved up, if you're feeling like, man, I don't know if I can do this another day, take a little bit of time to think. Take some time to meditate. Take some time to pray on it. Sit down and write with a pad and paper all those wonderful reasons that you came to this chiropractic profession. What gives you joy about being a chiropractor? Write those down. What are the things that you're grateful for about being a chiropractor? And begin focusing on that and meditate on that and pull that list out and read it in the morning before you see that first patient, right? Take a look at that and pray on it at night before you go to bed. And set your intention to have more of that show up in your life. And guess what? You'll revitalize your purpose. You'll set that purpose back on fire. And man, baby, when you are on fire, people come to watch you burn. When you're smoldering and the ashes are there and you're dragging it down, man, there's a lot of people who would love to rain on your parade, right? So give them a reason to stoke your fire. Another sign that you are caught in a time warp is you don't network. I love this name badge. Hello, my name is Opportunity. It's never been easier to network in the chiropractic profession than ever before. If you don't belong to the chamber, you're missing a huge opportunity, the Chamber of Commerce. If you don't participate in a BNI group and that is completely set up to have referrals come to your practice, guess what? You're going to be missing out on a huge opportunity. The single greatest source of new patients that you should have in your practice month in and month out is referrals, right? You're having referrals come from your professional community, from medical doctors in your area, from attorneys in your area, from patients who you work with, from businesses who you share similar client profiles, that your people you serve are the same sort of people that they serve. Guess what? You're missing a huge, huge opportunity. You know why most people don't join those groups? Why most people don't get out there and network is because it feels uncomfortable. If you're an introvert, and by the way, I happen to be a huge introvert. I'm one of the shyest people you'll ever meet. I just learned that if I was going to grow my practice, if I was going to grow breakthrough coaching, I had to make it not be about me. Right? It's not about me. It's about the other person. If I focused on what it is that I'm nervous about, my faults and my perceived flaws or inadequacies, guess what's going to be on the top of my mind? But if I become curious about other people, if I want to learn about what makes other people tick, right? What are the things that they're passionate about? What is it that keeps them up at night? What are their stories? And I love listening to people's stories. I promise you that. What are the great things that you can do is become a great listener. A master networker is not a master talker. A master networker is a master listener. So become curious. Become curious about people. Become curious about your patients. Think about what makes them tick. What are the things in their life that they're passionate about, and talk about that. That's how you expand your sphere of influence. That's how you expand. That's how you network without networking. It's just being curious. Living by the clock is a major, major sign that you are stuck in a time warp. As I mentioned before, chiropractic practice ownership is not for the meek. This is not a 9-to-5 job. Now, if you're an associate out there, an associate in practice, I'm very specifically speaking to you right now. If you want to become a practice owner, if you want to become maybe the purchaser of the practice that you're working in right now, you have to first show up like an owner. Okay? You have to first show up like you're excited about there, like you own the business before you have the opportunity or get the opportunity to own that business. Doc, if you own that business and you're showing up 5 minutes before the patient is scheduled, the first patient is scheduled, or 5 minutes after the first patient is scheduled, even worse, and not getting there early and not rallying your team and not starting the day with the daily standing team huddle and not setting and focusing your attention and not doing the extra that it takes and staying there for that last patient and being available on the weekends and having your patients have access to your cell phone number. That is what it takes to be a mega success in chiropractic. You've got to be able to, and by the way, you know what? I'm watching the beautiful Winter Olympics right now, and I see the finishing scores, and it's sometimes less than 1/10 of a point that separates the bronze medal from the person who you never hear of, right? From standing on the platform, bronze, silver, and gold, there are sometimes the slightest fractions of points that separate the people who are standing there with the medal around their neck and then the people who fade back into the woodwork, who never actually get to be up there and get that award, right? You don't have to breathe your business 24/7, but you got to be open to the occasional early phone call, late appointment, if you want that practice to thrive, right? If you're looking for a 9-to-5 gig, owning a chiropractic practice is not going to happen. Do the little extra effort that it takes to make sure that you're getting that gold medal. Staying disorganized, being disorganized is a major sign that your practice is in a time warp. I want you, Doc, to sit down, look at your desk. If you're a practice team member, take a look at your workspace. If you walked into my office where I'm sitting right now, you honestly would not think that a human being worked here. I am absolutely the neatest guy in the world. I've got a pad to the left of me here. I have everything that comes in paper gets scanned. This is a paperless office here. I have my environment. There are beautiful books nicely stacked on a shelf. I like to have artwork, so there's inspiring artwork around me. I need to have my physical space organized if I'm going to have my mental space organized. Understand now, as a chiropractor, what you are doing, this is really important to hear, is that you are actually helping organize or reorganize the patient's nervous system. Got that? The chiropractic adjustment removes interference, improves the organization of the nervous system and the function of the organism that carries that nervous system throughout the planet, right? You're an organizer. That's your job. If you're not organized, if beginning with your desk, if there are papers, if you've got stacks of reports that haven't been completed or filed, guess what? You're sending out a message to the universe that I'm overwhelmed, okay? I can't even organize my desk. How do you think the universe is going to move to send you patients who need organization? It's not. If your finances are not organized, how do you think that the universe is going to give you greater financial resources to manage and shepherd? Well, it's not. If you can't organize, master, and manage what you got, you're not going to get more. Until you learn to master the level that you're at, you cannot rise to the next level of organization, right? I'll tell you what, the master chiropractors that I meet and speak to and get to interact with on a regular basis are some of the most highly organized people that I know. Their practices are run systematically. Their finances are run systematically. Their investments are run systematically. Their program and plan for their finances, their retirement is systematic and it's organized. Listen, I understand that documentation and running a practice and managing a team is challenging. If you can't do it alone, as I mentioned, get somebody to help you. Get a coach to help you organize it. Learn from somebody who's been successful, right? Get a mentor. Don't let your ADD chiropractors, we love shiny objects. We look to the next thing. We look to the next thing, right? We're like squirrel. Look, everybody's attention goes to the next thing, right? Don't let that get in the way of your personal and professional success. Begin with organizing your workspace. It moves to organizing your mind and then organizing your life. Another sign that you're stuck in a time warp is what I call randomly switching it up, right? Technique hopping, looking for the next new business opportunity, the next gizmo or gadget, right? Switching it up from time to time might sound like a good thing, but give yourself a chance to let your ideas come to fruition. Let them come into reality. If you're constantly mixing it up, you're number one, you're sending out signals that are confusing to your staff. Your team needs to be in alignment with you. You need to know where we're going, where we're headed there, and we have to be able to measure it effectively. And if you're constantly changing lots of things at the same time, you're not going to get an accurate handle or feel for what works and what doesn't. If you're constantly changing and tweaking and changing and tweaking, listen, make a change, measure it, manage it, and then move forward, right? Constantly evaluating your progress, not throwing all sorts of things at the wall and seeing what'll stick because you don't have the stick-to-itiveness that's essential as success in practice. Here's a tough slide, right? And it's keeping your posse, but it could be keeping your posse longer than you should keep your posse. So who's your posse? Well, they're your peeps. Could be your practice teammates, some of your practice teammates. Could be your mates, your friends. Could even be some of your patients that you're hanging on to that are holding you back. Listen, I had to work with a practice team this week, yesterday as a matter of fact, where we had to, as I say, release one of the practice team members so that they could find their success somewhere else. In other words, they didn't have what it took to do this particular role, and we gave them 30 days to correct, gave them coaching and training along that 30 days. At that 30-day period of time, Those basic skills weren't mastered. The question was asked in 30 more days, do you think, to the rest of the team, do you think that this staff member, this team member is going to be able to have a different result? They all agreed no, and we had to terminate that person. Because if we kept her in that position, in that practice, where she wasn't going to grow and thrive, guess who we were harming? Not only the practice itself, but we were harming that practice team member because she was frustrated and it wasn't a right match for her in that position. And she'll thrive, and so is a beautiful person, a great person, wonderful person, nothing against the person, just the position and the person weren't a right match. But as most chiropractors do, God bless us, we think we can fix everyone, or we think we can try to fix everyone. And that means we end up keeping practice team members on sometimes months, sometimes years after they should have been let go. That locks our practice in a time warp. It also locks that person in a time warp because they can't grow and thrive as they could right now. Same thing with patients. You know who they are. There's that small handful of patients that you've got on your schedule that when you see them on the schedule, you go, oh no, it's not whoever, whatever their name is coming in. You're like, gosh, do I have to see this person, right? And they're the person who comes in late, they don't pay, they don't follow your recommendations, they whine, they're whiners, right? You know, one of the greatest most effective things to do is to fire that patient, right? Just like you fire a team member, fire a patient. Pick the 5, I like actually having you grade your patients A, B, C, D, and F, right? A, B, C, D, and F, just like you'd get a grade in school. I want you to have a practice full of A patients. A patients are patients who pay, stay, refer, and actually get the big picture about chiropractic. Those are A patients. I give them an A. If I've got patients who are an F, who whine, who complain, who don't follow schedule, who don't show up, right? Give them an F. And then what I ask you to do is each month, fire a handful of Fs. You fire one F, you make room for 5 As. I promise you that the Fs are bringing you down. The Fs are locking you into a time warp. Let them go. Free them to go bother some other chiropractor and bring their practice down. You can love them, right? But you got to make sure that you share the same goals and the same passion. The more you can surround yourself with people who support your goals and who support your passion, find a way to let them go in an amiable way. Hanging on to your posse when they don't share your vision is a big, big mistake. And finally, just playing it safe. Listen, playing it safe is not the way to go. Here you've got somebody standing against a brick wall, blending in, right? From time to time in your practice, you've got to take risk. And what I have found in life is that reward is commensurate with risk. What that means is if you're willing to put yourself out there into the community, to make new relationships based upon your curiosity, to share your passion, that's risking. Letting people know what you're passionate about, having a coach that you can work with that'll share your goals and help hold you accountable for that. That's risk. If you're willing to risk and grow, I find that that is rewarded by abundance greatly with the way that the law of attraction in the universe works, right? Listen, your competition is not the other chiropractor in your community. Your competition is every place that patients can go to get a 5-star experience. If you don't know what a 5-star experience is, or you have a staff member who doesn't know what a 5-star experience is, have them take them out to lunch in whatever the finest restaurant is in your area. Go sit for an afternoon in a hotel that is the finest hotel in your area and see what that experience is like. Send them to a spa that is really a wonderful spa and have them get an extraordinary experience. I got one for you right here. Send them with a notepad to Chick-fil-A and ask them to sit down and mark down, you know what Chick-fil-A is, right? Sit down, the fast food chain, sit down in a Chick-fil-A and write down all of the things that make Chick-fil-A a five-star experience. The fact that they bring you their food to you at your table, how they respond to you, the environment that's created there, right? That's your competition. We have to have that five-star experience in our practice every day, day in and day out. Don't play it safe. Don't blend in the background. Stand out because of your extraordinary service. Being a practice owner takes guts. It does take courage. It takes knowing when to walk, when to sprint, and when it's time to run away from the habits that have had you stuck in a time warp. It's knowing how to get out of your own way, how to move on, and how to get out of that time warp and before you lose your butt and your hat and maybe your shirt to your competition. I've got a special gift for you, and thank you again so much, ChiroHealthUSA, for allowing me to share your audience today. And here's a special gift from me to all of our listeners. I put together, and I know that social media and Facebook is new to some of you. One of the most effective marketing strategies that we found is running Facebook contests. And so we actually developed a step-by-step implementation guide or white paper on how to run an effective Facebook contest. And there's, it's my gift to you. There's not anything that I expect from you in return except for to get out there and grow the chiropractic profession. The way that you can get this 5-step guide to how to run a Facebook concept is simply text the code CHUSA18, CHUSA 18, to the number 33444. So CHUSA18, text it to 33444. We'll shoot you an email with the download of the Facebook contest. I hope you have a lot of fun with it. It's a great way to generate energy, not only online but offline in your practice as well, because there's components that you can do offline. It's a great way to pump up your social media followers, your social media engagement, and it's a really, really exciting, fun way to pep up the practice and jazz it up a little bit and break yourself out of that time warp. So that being said, Christy, I think I'm coming up the top of my time, and again, I want to thank you so much for being here with me, and I look forward to seeing you and speaking with you on the road as soon as we possibly can.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sanna. It is always a pleasure to have you on our webinar series, and what an incredible webinar and so much wonderful information. I just want to remind everyone that these webinars are recorded. You will get a link to the webinar recording in the next 20 to 30 minutes. So please go back, watch it again. I know y'all were busy taking notes the whole time. Share this with key staff members that are going to help you in implementing these different things into your practice to take it to the next level of success. Because we are right at the top of the hour, we are not going to be able to do any live Q&A. Also, Dr. Sanna and I are both about to jump on planes headed out of town this week. We have, I'm headed to Washington, D.C. as soon as I get off the phone, and then leaving D.C. and heading to Parker, Vegas, and Dr. Sanna is traveling as well.
Woohoo, it's going to be fun.
Woohoo. So just a reminder, next week we have Dr. Tom Grant. He's going to be talking to us about personal injury cases and why PI care is not health care. Really great webinar. He spoke on the webinar series last year, got amazing feedback. He's got some really good information, some really good data. So this class came highly recommended, or this presentation, so we're really excited to have him on the webinar series next week. If you haven't already registered, please go to our website at ChiroHealthUSA.com, click on webinars. You can see all of the upcoming webinars for the next month and a half. Register for them, register your staff. And again, if you want to go back and see what webinars have taken place in the past, you can click on the archive. All webinars are available for 1 year after their live presentation date. So thank you so much for joining us today. And Dr. Sanna, thank you so much, as always, for making time out of your schedule to be a presenter on our webinar series. I will see everyone soon. Bye-bye.